cash flow. So come on and get this money, man. Getting paper and we always do it major on the stroll, you know it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Game Winning Drive, presented by The Buzz. I am not alone, as always. My co-host with me, Alex Krogan, is here. Alex, how you doing, my man?
Good, man. Good. Super excited for this game. Can't wait.
Yeah. We also got the Sports Box here with us. We got Brian Detard, Mike Galetta, and my boy Ant in the bottom there. How you guys doing, Sports Box?
What's up, boys? What's up, boys?
Some of us are very moist today, as you can probably guess.
If I get moist, I'm downsizing. I'll be downgraded.
Yeah, it's snowing in New Jersey, but it's nowhere near as wet as Mike is right
now. No way, no how. It's phenomenal.
Oh
phenomenal.
My Lord. Daniel Bockley should be joining us here in a few minutes from Cage My IQ, which is also presented by The Buzz. But we are here to talk about the Super Bowl today, guys. As you can tell, Mike is wearing his team's jersey. The guy who didn't believe in Tom Brady, but that's another topic for another day. I had to do it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I had to do it.
Yeah, somebody else would too.
You know I love you. All right, so we're gonna let's get into it, boys. Obviously, there's a lot of news going around this weekend, which we had the NFL award show last night. We had the Hall of Fame inductees. We're gonna get into that, and we're also gonna talk about, obviously, boom, this right here. Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz is on the trade block. He is requesting a trade. Is this the right move for Philly? And is Chicago outbidding themselves in this potential deal? Our man to the bottom right, if you see him right now, he is a Chicago Bear fan. How do you like this deal? Tariq Cohen was supposedly rumored, but now it's being squashed. What are you hearing right now?
The buzz on Twitter is crazy right now with the situation, and it's like it's where there's smoke, there's fire, it looks like. So I don't know. Personally, I don't want this to happen. I'm not a real big fan of Wentz. But right now the Bears are so desperate. I feel that they're going to pull the trigger and give away too much for this guy. And I personally don't think he's worth a first round draft pick. As I know, I talked to Brian, he said it's not going to really be that, but as far as Tariq Cohen going, I'm not really concerned about that. If it happens, to me, he's a sideline Mike in football terms. He's not north-south. Loses yards, doesn't gain them. So not concerned about that. But, I mean, right now the Bears are just a desperate football team looking for a quarterback. They have a coach and a GM on the hot seat, and they have to make something happen. And I think it's going to happen, I think, unless the Colts come in and come over the top. But it doesn't sound like they're willing to do what the Bears are willing to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I don't see that happening with the Colts. I mean, G and Chris Ballard came out and saying that they're easily going to go through the draft or find a veteran in, they're trying to go for Jameis Winston, but I don't see that happening. Alex, I mean, we've been talking about this the last couple of weeks with Carson Wentz and the drama. It seems like if Nick Foles is coming back to Philly, isn't that going to even create even more of a black cloud? Because that's the former Super Bowl MVP. He has a statue built out in the front of the damn stadium. Is this going to cause an issue with Jalen Hurts?
Listen, I mean, I don't – who knows at this point what the unbelievable situation is in Philly. The front office is an absolute mess, and that all starts with Howie, and he's not going anywhere apparently because somehow he survived the cut even though Peterson's gone, right? Normally both get cleaned house when you're doing as bad as they've done. So I think it's a good change for Wentz. I think it's a dumb move followed by a history of dumb moves by the organization for Philly to get rid of him. I think he's the best quarterback they have on the roster right now. But we don't know what Hurts is going to be. But Hurts was never, in my opinion, was never going to be a successful NFL quarterback. Personally, I mean, he got beat out by Tua. As a true freshman, Tua had to come in and win a national championship for him, and then he never really gained that luster back that he had before we saw what Tua was. He went to Oklahoma. He was semi-successful in a gimmicky offense to me that hid his deficiencies. Philly doesn't have any talent besides maybe the guys that are hiking, snapping the ball. And so it's terrible for Chicago. I don't know if he's the answer there because I think he needs to go somewhere where they have more weapons. But he's going to be the best quarterback they've had in quite some time. So it's a win-win, I guess. He gets out of Philly in a toxic situation, and maybe Philly hits the reset button, even though Howie's still in charge. Maybe he's successful in Chicago. Maybe they can figure it out with him and use his tool set. Maybe they pick up some weapons in the draft or in the offseason. Like we've talked about ad nauseum, there's a lot of wide receivers available. So it could be possibly great for both. I wouldn't trade anything for him but a bag of magic beans because Philly's desperate. They need to get rid of him. So,
On the side note, our former partner on Game Week Drive, Alex, do you still think Mike Evans is overrated and not the best receiver on his team?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. All right. Another subject from
Gronkowski at this point is a better wide receiver than Mike Evans is.
Makes no
Hot take.
sense.
Hot take.
That's the truth. And if you don't believe that, you don't know shit about football. But we know, we know about Austin, so that makes sense.
John Hunter is part of the Buzz. He's the host of the Frozen Roast podcast. If the Foles stuff is true, it's a bad move. Foles is a great guy, and I appreciate the Super Bowl, but he caught lightning in a bottle. Bringing him back will only hurt Hurts at this point with this idiotic fan base we have here, and the media is worse. So if you guys have known, he's a Philly fan.
Yeah.
That doesn't help you guys. Thanks, John, for tuning in. Austin tuning in. Brian, I want to get into let's talk about it. We've always talked about Carson Wentz, Dak, and Jared Goff, this and that. Last time I checked, and our boy Ant would tell us right here, Allen Robinson's a free agent. Who the hell is Carson Wentz going to be throwing to if he even goes to Chicago?
Look, you might be going from problem one to problem two of your Carson Wentz. I mean, I get that. I mean, as somebody who's advocated for the guy for a long time, who thought that the criticism in many cases was unwarranted, not entirely, but somewhat. I don't think you're necessarily going to a significantly better situation. You are going to a playoff team, which is a fact, with a very good defense. So it's not as if you're out there hung to dry. But I think if you look at this in entirety from a Philadelphia standpoint, it's crazy to say this because they actually found a way to win a Super Bowl, which is like wild, which is a Disney miracle, and that's fine. But from start to finish, like if you just assume that everything they do is wrong, it all makes sense. Because not only do you give up 2 1s, a 3 and a 4 and another 2 to go up and get the guy, right? Then you don't do anything to surround him with any sort of talent. You just don't do that. You consistently make horrible picks. And then early, you give him an extension. 12 months after the extension, where nothing has changed, where he led his team to a division championship. Regardless of division, he still did that. They use a second-round pick on a quarterback. And then now we're in the position where they're actually going to trade him prior to the 4-year extension even starting, and ending up with the highest single-season dead cap hit in the history of the NFL by a country mile. I don't care what anybody says to me to spin this. This is an abject disaster from start to finish. You do not do this in 2016 to get rid of the guy in 2021. There is no scenario where that makes any sense whatsoever. And if you look at that roster, and I maintain this, that is a bottom 5 roster in the NFL. When you look at the fact that their offensive line this year was a complete and utter disaster, they have no one to throw the ball to on the outside, and their defense is getting older and older at key positions, and guys are not playing very well. Carson Wentz is not the primary issue on the team. You fire your Super Bowl winning head coach in order to appease him, but that doesn't work because you've already pissed him off. So now he wants out. So you've done that to yourself. There is no upside to this other than I was completely wrong about the idea that they have to give up a ransom to get rid of him. That appears to not happen. But with Adam Schefter saying, it's going to be a handsome return, the deal that you're hearing right now is Nick Foles, I'll get to that disaster in a second, Tariq Cohen, gadget player, and a pick swap from 37 up to 20. Like, this is not as if like you're getting the Matt Stafford package here by any stretch. So if you're just trying to move on, like I see that piece of it, but you created that bed, so sleep in it. But like, it's not, let's not pretend they're getting this like massive offer from the Bears here either. And bringing back Nick Foles. I mean, this WWE, like that's like they're writing this nonsense. Like, why would you do that? Are you going with Jalen Hurts or not? I think he's terrible. I think when you run around, you're going to hide your offensive deficiencies quite a bit. I think that the predominantly running quarterback is the next version of the Wildcat, and that will eventually go out of the league. It's a passing league. The 1 and 2 passing offense in the game are in the game today, and this should tell you something. But I don't see how, to me, they're a bad team for a very long time. The only way this makes any sense to me, Drew, is if at number 6, they take a quarterback. That I can like get behind because you got a new coach, new regime, get your new guy in there because this guy didn't draft that guy and there's no link to him.
That makes the most sense. That really makes
That's the only thing that makes any sense to me.
I think you're being generous too with saying bottom 5. I think they're the worst roster in the NFL. I challenge you to find a place where they're as bad at every position as the Eagles are right now.
With the salary cap too.
And they're going to lose.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah. You just don't have room to make moves. There's plenty of free agents, but who are you bringing in when you're strapped with salary cap restrictions?
And you can't draft. You're linked to every free agent all the time because you can't draft and you have holes to fill.
Yep.
So of course you're this much over the salary cap.
And look, that's the issue right there. Let's just be about it. You have to build through the draft to make your team good. Look what the Buccaneers did. Look what Kansas City Chiefs do. They're smart. They know their system. They know what they need to plug in. Jalen Reagor was not the plug and play. They needed offensive line help. They needed help in every area to protect Wentz. Wentz isn't getting protecting. I understand that he regressed, and it is true. Stats don't lie. He has regressed. But what he did those 2 years after they won the Super Bowl, he was able to get this team. I'm sorry, not 2018, but 2019. He was able to get this team to a playoff with backup receivers that are practice squad guys. I don't understand and I don't get it. And we can beat a dead horse about Doug Peterson. If you're going to fire Doug Peterson, you should have fired Howie. I don't get it. Like Alex said, it doesn't make any sense to me at all whatsoever. Carson Wentz, you give him this contract, and a year later, it's like, does he have it? Is he done? Is it over with? Now you're bringing in Nick Foles. If you're bringing in Nick Foles, that tells me that you don't believe in Jalen, that you don't believe in what he's doing, but you're on a rookie deal. You're not going to get rid of him because it's a rookie deal. Like me and Brian always talk about all the time. Rookie deals are the greatest deals when it comes to quarterbacks. So, Mike, it's just creating a black cloud. And the NFC East, I believe, is wide open next year. What does this tell you about Carson Wentz? And do you think that there is a team that is out there? My brother's a diehard Eagles fan. And he's telling me that don't be surprised if John Gruden and Mike Mayock do something with the Raiders because he loves Carson Wentz. Can you see the Raiders coming out and trying to get a bigger deal?
I don't think so because he's got Mariota out there, and he's always been a fan of Mariota. So I think if Carr does leave and he gets rid of Carr, which I think he's been trying to do since he got there, then I think they just slide Mariota in there, and that's what Gruden's going to do. I mean, Wentz could go to the Colts still. I think the Bears is a strong possibility from what we're now here. But like Brian said, to get back to it, I mean, Philadelphia caused this disaster. This is a total dumpster fire. I mean, they signed the guy to a 5-year deal. You gave him the money. Okay, a year later, you move up in the draft to get his successor or a kid that you think could stay behind him. You knew that was going to cause waves either with Jalen or him. And now Wentz is saying, you know what? I'm not putting up with this. I want out. And he's upset about it. Peterson wasn't going to take it anymore. He was tired of getting told what to do to try to get Carson Wentz. I mean, this is from top to bottom a total catastrophe that the Eagles have made into. And now they're trying to get out of it by getting rid of Wentz. But there's so much deeper into that. Like Brian said, this whole roster is terrible right now. So their offensive line is a sham. Their defensive secondary stinks. I mean, they got so many problems, and they're so worried about this quarterback issue. That's just the tip of this iceberg. I mean, they brought in a guy that's going to listen to management because, let's face it, he's a new head coach, and he's not going to know any better. So he's going to listen to them, whatever they say. So that's what they want. It's almost like a socialist party running this organization. They want everybody to do what they wanted to do, and it's not going to work. It's really not.
But Drew, to your point, and to yours as well, Mike. And everybody here, if you're Wentz, why would you want to stay?
Exactly.
What would keep you here? If you have an out right now, you take it. And Drew, to your point, they know what their weaknesses are. They just don't know how to fill them. They drafted Andre Dillard. That's been a disaster.
Yep.
They drafted JJ Arcega-Whiteside. That was a disaster. They drafted Jalen Reagor. That appears to be a disaster. So it's not as if they don't know what their problems are. They can see that. Anybody can see that. Stevie Wonder can see that. But they can't draft to fill.
Drew, we said on our show, if you draft a quarterback, it's okay. But if you draft in the 3rd and 4th round, it looks a hell of a lot better than moving up to get Jalen Hurts where you got him.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what started the whole catastrophe. Because then I don't think Carson Wentz is looking in the window. It's like, well, this guy's down the road. I still play good. I'm going to be fine. Maybe they move him. Maybe he signs with another team. You bring a guy in to be the successor and to try to push him in front of this guy, you got a big problem.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
Why are you paying him franchise money? And,
Right,
you
then don't
and
sign
he's
him.
not your franchise quarterback.
Then don't sign him.
Why did you make that deal?
Right.
But time wise though, this is the part that again, listen, I was completely wrong about this. I said they weren't gonna trade Wentz, weren't gonna cut Wentz. I'm wrong about that, and that's fine. I'm happy to be wrong because he's a good player and they're gonna miss him. What changed from when you inked him to the deal to when you drafted Hurts?
Yep.
They went to the playoffs that year. He won 4 straight games with trash cans at wide receiver.
Brian,
Something happened in the locker room.
Brian,
There's locker
that
room issues, man. There's definitely listen. There's so many rumors about him, and even this. That's what concerns me about coming to my team. Listen, there's rumors out there that he was changing the plays on purpose. During games. I mean, if there's rumors like that, someone's leaking something. I mean, something happened in that locker room. Where guys just don't want to be around him.
My son agrees with you. That's why he's yelling. For me personally, what you just said right there was perfect. He's been a cancer in this locker room, apparently, to a lot of players. I mean, if you have leadership issues, that's going to create a black cloud in your locker room. That's the first thing. But that black cloud could have been created by them drafting Jalen Hurts. You know, you're creating issues with your franchise quarterback. But here's the thing, though. I understand where the Eagles were coming from in this sense, Brian, is that the man has not played more than a minute in a playoff game. You got it. It has to resonate in your mind. Can this guy play a full freaking season?
It was a dirty hit, though. I mean, call it what it was.
It was go back before his career.
Right. Brandon Cooks got knocked out against the Eagles in that Super Bowl. He still was traded for a lot of picks a couple times since. I mean, if it's a dirty hit, it happens. Like I understand.
I get that.
Tell you another thing,
ability is your biggest ability.
I'll tell you another thing, Drew, real quick, is that Carson Wentz, a professional in this league, being paid the money he is, you could say he's a veteran, a couple years in the league or whatever. When he came out a game or two after he was benched for Jalen Hurts, said, I don't like this. I want to get out of here. That is not being a professional. You want to say something at the end of the season? Okay, you put your mouth, be a good soldier, and do your job. At the end of the season, you want to bitch and say you want out. That's a different story. He didn't help himself there either.
Listen, this guy, he's a head case. He's a kind of head case.
Yeah.
Listen, think about what's happened to this guy. It's 2017. He's running the NFL, going to be the MVP. Gets hurt. Guy, the backup comes in, wins the Super Bowl. All right, then the next year he comes back. He gets hurt again. Takes him to the playoffs. Next season he gets hurt in the playoffs. Then they draft Hurts. Mentally, I mean, think about this. What this guy's been going through mentally, and I think he's just totally checked out. And he's just had it. And I don't even know I don't know if that's repairable somewhere else. Who knows? Who knows his mentality?
Sometimes,
you know what I mean?
Sometimes different.
The guy's he's had so much stuff go on in his career that mentally he's probably like, what the fuck, you know?
Sometimes he's just that type of player, but sometimes a different location is the better situation. All right, guys. Houston Texans memo to NFL.com was on quarterback Deshaun Watson. Goal is to get him back. So obviously what I'm hearing is that the deals are not good enough for Deshaun Watson. Alex, I want to hear your thoughts on this. What's going to happen? Because he doesn't want to be there. He's willing to sit out. He says he's willing to retire. What do you do if you're Houston?
It's like we talked before ad nauseum. I'm getting to the point where I'm tired of talking about this.
Agree.
Listen, the Texans are never going to get the value that Deshaun Watson brings to that team. I mean, the games that they won this year, even though they were few and far between, were because of him. So you're not getting players that are worth 5 wins in return. You're just not getting that. So take the best deal you can, move on from this. You've jacked up every trade you've made in the past 5 years anyways. You might as well jack up another one, get it done, and hit the reset button, because Deshaun Watson is pretty much, besides J.J. Watt, who is on his way out as well, is really the talent you have on this team. So, David Johnson, an aging running back, beyond his years of age of football, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Sorry, I was reading the clown on the bottom of the screen. It really doesn't say much, but says a lot all the time. So he's like some people in interviews, they talk a lot, but they really don't say nothing.
Mike Evans is trash.
Yeah, I listen. He's highly overrated. And if you don't, I'm not concerned about fantasy numbers. I'm concerned about crunch time. But that's another discussion. Listen. You got to get rid of Deshaun. I don't believe that he will retire or sit out. He's too much of a high character guy. He's still highly immersed in the community there. It just goes against everything that, he has stood for since he's been in the NFL. He's a stand-up guy, very high character, morals, all that stuff. I just don't see him walking away from the game at this age. It's not going to work. So he's just trying to threaten his way. He's trying to stay tough to get his way out of Texas. And I don't know if they're going to do it. I think Houston's going to stand their ground in, either 4 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks. And if they don't get it, they're going to keep him and see if he actually is going to stick with it, which I don't think he will. I think you'll see him in a Texans uniform next year, and this was a lot of hoopla for nothing. Maybe he gets traded next year, right? But I think we're too far down the road. We've kicked the can too far down the road for them to get a kind of deal that they want.
For me personally, I get what you're saying, but you can't have this on your team. This needs to go. It needs to go away. You're not going to get what you're going to get with Deshaun Watson. It's not going to happen. It's trade value. It's not. It's just not there. If Matthew Stafford's worth 2 firsts, then Deshaun Watson's worth 5. It's just the way that it works. It's the way I look at it. For me, as if I'm looking as a GM, Texas need to do something. They need to do it quick. They need to. If they want to rebuild their team, this is how you rebuild it. You started off with your best player on your team. You get rid of him, and you get the value that you can get, and you build through the draft. It's just time to rebuild. It's time to restart over again. They messed up. Bill O'Brien effed everything up. The GM the owner that allowed the GM to be Bill O'Brien was the most idiotic thing in the world. It bites him in the ass. They traded probably arguably the greatest receiver in the game today for an aging running back who hasn't played a full season and still hasn't. So what does that tell you? This culture is messed up. How much does Watson need to do to help this team out? Now, is it his fault that he signed that contract? Yes, he has some blame on signing that contract after that trade was done. But at the end of the day, Texas need to get rid of this and just move on, and so we can stop talking about it. So I can stop talking about it on StreamYard. Go ahead, Brian.
I've had a goal of banging Jenna Jameson since I was about 12 years old. I haven't gotten there yet. Probably where the Houston is with Deshaun Watson right now. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they don't have to trade him. He doesn't have to show up. And if that's how strongly he feels about it, it is what it is. And this is not the NBA where the players can dictate this necessarily the way they can there. But if you're a big enough guy, this is what you do. And similarly to what happened in Philadelphia with Wentz, it's like you created this. This is entirely your fault. Don't write a check your ass can't cash. Don't say we're going to involve you in the front office process and then don't involve them in the front office process. Like, you set those expectations. So Yeah, I mean, you can say whatever you want publicly. I mean, not that long ago, Jeffrey Lurie was saying how we're looking forward to playing Carson Wentz next year. Well, that's not going to happen. So you can say whatever you want to in the moment, but the writing's on the wall here. I mean, do I know whether he's going to go? No, I don't. But he's going to force his way out, and it's entirely the Texans' fault, and they're the ones to blame. And we could talk about Eagles being bottom 5. This team's bottom. You take him off this team. I mean, that's a bad roster, and that's all Bill O'Brien's fault for what he's done the last couple of years, and that they haven't drafted well. They've traded picks for guys who you shouldn't have traded picks for, and here you are. And I think that we've been laughing about the Jaguars in the AFC South. I mean, Houston's going to take their mantle pretty damn quick here because that's a bad roster with no way to fix it with no picks, unless depending on what you get for him. But it's a bad situation all around.
Mike.
Yeah, I mean, they were a bad organization before, and then they started trading Hopkins, and you brought in David Johnson, which I'm still baffled you did that. Now, Deshaun Watson looks around and sees that there's nobody here, and this is a bad team going nowhere. They're not bringing anybody in. They're not making this team better, so he wants out. I mean, I think you gotta try to get what you can. Like Alex said, you're not going to get a ton for this guy like you think you're going to get, but you got to do something to get him out of there because this is just going to go on and on the entire year if he does sit out, and it's just going to keep dragging this team down. You got to get some kind of movement forward with this team, with the Houston team. You can't just keep living in this crap atmosphere and culture that they have going because you're not going to get any free agents to come there, and you're never going to get any better. So you got to try to pull the trigger on Watson. You got to send him somewhere. I'm not saying just get rid of him for nothing, but you're going to have to face facts that you're not going to get what you think you're going to get for him. And, it might be time to just cut the cord and move on. Because he doesn't be there.
Meets.
Yeah, I mean, get going. I'm over this story. I'm over this. I'm over the Houston Texans. They're totally irrelevant. They'll always be irrelevant. And just move on. Trade the guy. I mean, it's going to look worse if he sits out and they butt heads. I mean, and think about it. If a player sits out all year, I mean, what guy comes back the next year really back to form? I mean, if anything, it hurts Watson to sit out a year, in my opinion. You can't sit out a year and then go play NFL football right off. It's just not going to happen. So I mean, just do it and get rid of him. And now you're hearing that they're hanging up on people when people are calling. I mean, he's not talking to the coach. So I mean, this isn't happening. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
Now, would you be more interested if Chicago was in the lead for him?
So. It's the Houston Texans. I don't want to talk about the Houston Texans.
But would you be more interested if Chicago had was supposedly rumored to be in the lead for his services? Would you be more interested?
Sure, but I mean,
okay.
You're gonna have to offload everything. I mean, it's not gonna happen. So I'm already past that point.
All right.
I mean, if only the Bears could have drafted Watson, right?
You mean the Browns,
exactly.
since we traded the pick?
Let's not draft the guy who beat Alabama, wins the ACC, Denver lost. Let's draft the guy from North Carolina. All right. Okay.
Just a quick touch of breaking news, Drew. Adam Schefter is reporting that next year's salary cap is going to be about 180, 181. Yeah, it could have gone down to 175, as we've been hearing all year. It's 198 this year, so it is coming down significantly. That's going to hurt some teams, and we know
17 million. That's very significant.
That's huge. So obviously this is like our theme when Brian gets on or I get on the Sports Box. So the Dallas Cowboys, Stephen Jones came out today saying that it's either going to be a sign or a tag, or a tag. No, duh. Yeah, we know it's going to be one of those two things. So that being said, I'm going to leave Brian last. Mike, what does the Cowboys need to do? What if you were Dak's agent, what would you tell him to do?
I mean, he's going to get what he gets, but I told Brian this a while ago that they're going to do something with him. I think Jerry Jones is the kind of guy that just loved Dak for what he did for this team and that year he had before he got hurt. You say what you want. I think he's going to get his money. He's going to get what he can with Dallas. And if you're his agent and they offer you a contract, I would sign it because I mean that injury hurt him. Anybody say anything that hurt him, and I think Dallas knows that they can still give him top dollar, and he can be that guy for them in that system. So if I'm his agent, I still try to get the Cowboys on board and try to get him, that contract to stay there.
Oh my lord.
What's up, Daniel? Everybody, Daniel from Cage My IQ on the Buzz is here, finally with us. He was having some issues. Daniel, how do you, if you were Dak's agent, what would you do? And is the tag the right situation for the Cowboys?
I think after thinking it over for a few weeks, I think the transition tag would be the right thing to do for both sides, because he just had that gruesome injury. You don't know how he's going to be when he comes back. You want him to kind of come back and prove himself from the injury to show that he can play at the same level that he was playing beforehand. Granted, he was a lot of his playing was playing from behind last year, so you want to see how he can do with the leg now, and then say he has a great year or puts up good numbers, and then they do good, then you give him that big contract. But you don't want to throw a big contract at him right away after that injury and then say 3 games in have him hurt it again and then miss a more significant time, because then you're stuck with a long contract with a guy that has history now of getting hurt twice if he were to get hurt again. So I think that would be the right thing for both sides, because if he goes to a new team, he could get hurt, and then that other team, which he doesn't have history with, playing with those weapons, playing with those guys, you don't know when he's going to have time to practice if he's ready for that. So he wants to stay in a situation that he knows instead of an unknown situation.
Yeah, I like that. For me personally, I don't know if you guys know of our history or not between me and Brian. I am the defender of Dak, and he is the defender of getting rid of him. So with that being said, I am actually agreeing with Brian on this standpoint where you have to transition tag him if you're not trading him. If a trading is not there, if there's no trade partner that's an idiotic enough to take a quarterback who after just had that gruesome injury, then you transition tag him regardless of the fact. So I mean, if for me personally, I love Dak, but that injury scares me. I'm not getting him a long-term deal. That's too scary. It's just too scary to deal with that. So you keep your cap the way it is. You go and give him the transition tag, and if an idiotic team wants to trade him, you trade him, and you get what is it, Brian? A first and a third with the transition tag. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's a win-win for Dallas. The way I look at it, it's a win-win for Dallas to see if Dak can still has it. See if he's good enough. He's still on crutches. He had a second surgery, which scares me a lot. I didn't know he had a second surgery, so that kind of alarms me a little bit. But regardless of the fact, you got to go off his talent. You got to go off of what you have around him. He's got great skill players around him. CeeDee Lamb looks like he's ready to bust out. It's going to be okay just to see what he can be able to do in 2021. Alex, real quick.
Listen, this is another situation I'm tired of hearing about.
It's the last show of the season, so it's all good.
I'm a fan of Dak. I like what he does on the field, but it's a embarrassment of riches like Patrick Mahomes. I don't give him as much credit as he should get if he was playing somewhere like Philadelphia and taking YMCA receivers to the playoffs. Arguably the best offensive line almost all of his career. You saw when they started to deteriorate. Now he's got a gruesome leg injury. So that scares me because your offensive line is never going to be what it was. It's just a fact. You're not going to draft 3 Hall of Famers in the next 2 drafts, at the offensive line positions. So, if I'm his agent, I'm calling Jerry, and, Jerry clearly has a soft spot for Dak, and I'm sending him sweet nothings and Valentines and hookers and blow, whatever it takes to get Jerry to sign him to a long-term deal, which is terrible for the franchise. But at the end of the day, I think Jerry is Jerry, and he's never going to change. So if you can get him on your side, he'll probably make a bad deal. He's flirted with making bad deals since they've been under this new management, and luckily they've kind of reined him in. CeeDee Lamb, as good as he is, was not the right pick for the Cowboys, and I don't care what anybody says and how well he did and all that crap. It was not the right pick. You needed defense. You needed, you need a defensive line. You needed offensive line. Anything else, pretty much.
Safety corner, A.J. Terrell would have been huge for them.
Besides quarterback, right, and wide receiver, anything else on this team, I would have been okay with the pick.
I agree.
but no, we're the Cowboys. We got to do what we got to do. So let's take CD Lamb because he's a nice shiny toy. Listen, yeah, I hope he doesn't get a long-term deal because I don't think he deserves one with this injury, coming off this injury. But at the same time, I think Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones, and he's just one touching phone call away from making a bad mistake and signing a guy with his feelings instead of with his head.
Hey, Drew, real quick, report from Adam Scheffler. I think this is interesting to talk about. During the trade talks to acquire Matthew Stafford, the Carolina Panthers made a serious offer to the Lions of their eighth overall pick, a 5th round pick, and quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Per sources, Detroit opted to take the Rams offer. Do you think that would have been enough? You're Detroit. Do you take that deal from Carolina?
Damn. Yeah, I would have to. Yeah, I mean that's a good deal, dude.
Not a bad deal.
I see this, Alex. I want to go to your point real quick, but see to that deal, Carolina is just really trying to get rid of Teddy Bridgewater. They really screwed themselves with that contract. I'll tell you that right now, Brian and guys. That contract really is going to bite them in the ass because no one wants Teddy B. They saw what we saw this year, which was he's a product of the system in New Orleans where he didn't do anything. He just won games.
Yeah,
that's why winning games is a team stat. It's not a quarterback stat. So it's crazy to me that Carolina is really aggressive in these trade talks because I know they're aggressive with Carson Wentz. I got a buddy of mine that's telling me that they're willing to give a big time offer to Philly, but they want to get rid of Teddy B.
Well, so especially because that salary cap came down too. They're trying to move out of that deal. So
definitely. Meads, you want to close this out for this question real quick, and then we'll move on.
What about Brian?
I have opinions as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead. I'm bad.
No. Meads can go. I may have a thought.
I've got an opinion.
Let's go to Meads and then we'll go to Brian.
All right. The injury is the biggest issue. So, obviously it doesn't make sense to sign this guy to a long-term contract. And I honestly don't think Jerry Jones will. But that being said, the Cowboys, really you could plug in a quarterback and roll with that offense. Their defense is just atrocious. And that's the whole issue with the Cowboys. So, I could see them just throwing the tag on them and rolling and see what happens.
I agree.
That's all you can really do.
I agree. Brian, go ahead and comment on that trade offer.
Finish us off.
I think defensively, though, they're going to be better with better coaching. They brought back mostly the same defense as they had a year ago, minus a couple key guys. I'm not disputing that, but it was really, really bad this year. And I'm going to assume a lot of that was Mike Nolan, who needs to go get shot somewhere, but regardless. So I think that when they coach better. Drew, I'm sorry.
I just got a breaking news.
Yep.
Chris Godwin is going to get the big deal. Buccaneers are not letting him go.
Well, they shouldn't.
Yeah. Just wanted to throw that out there.
One of Tommy's toys. The defense will be better. Here's the thing, right? If you remember any of those who have been keeping tabs on anybody here, because we've been doing shows together for a long time, which is awesome. I had said that I would not have given Dak the contract last year because you don't know how he would mesh with your new head coach. So before you commit large dollars that it's going to be hard for you to get out of, why don't you see what that is? Probably. I wouldn't rule it out. Depends who's there. If Devontae Smith is there, we'll talk about it. So we move forward right now, right? So they played 4 games together. He put up a lot of gaudy numbers because, as Alex astutely and correctly said, the defense created the environment for them to do that. We all in 2021 attribute fantasy production with good play in the NFL, and those two things are not necessarily in the same breath. And I still don't know what Dak Prescott can do with a functioning team with Mike McCarthy. So no, I don't think it makes sense to give him the long-term deal until you have more of an idea of if you need to keep Dak, McCarthy, either or both. Cap-wise, they got $194 million against next year's cap of what we know now is roughly 180. They're going to carry $25 million over. They don't have the room. So you got to restructure somebody just to make that happen. Again, I am not convinced that he absolutely gets a long-term deal in Dallas. I think he'll get one if he takes what Jerry's offering him. And I don't think that, and I also don't think that this team's window is all that large. You've paid your running back, who we've already seen the best of, and he's got a long-term deal you can't get out of. You might be able to get out of Amari Cooper after this year. Then you got to worry about you brought CeeDee Lamb. And Alex, I agree with you. CeeDee Lamb was not the pick. He shouldn't have been there, but he was. So if you trust your board, you take the BPA. I agree that was the last thing they needed. But if they had him in the top 5 in their draft, they're idiots not to take him at where they took him. That's the Eagles' fault, Austin, for not going up and getting the guy who was much better than the No, you got to draft quarterback 53. You can't move up because Atlanta would have loved it. So AJ Terrell, 10 picks too early. It's fine, whatever.
You just should have passed on that pick. I mean, you didn't use him. So.
Does anybody knows Philly fans are?
Oh my God.
They mimic their front office guy and Howie. I mean, they're just
they're
here. Terrible at talking about football.
We got one here.
Knowing anything about football, about commenting about.
Why are you dissing Daniel right now? Leave Daniel alone.
Dan can't hear you.
I know Daniel.
You're on live right
now. I love Daniel, but if you listen to some of his takes about Philly, it's the truth. I love you, man. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was aimed at Austin.
I think the tag makes a lot of sense. I am not opposed to moving on from the guy. Again, Drew, you mentioned how we go back and forth on this, and Alex brought this up. The reason that there's been a Dak Wentz argument that I've been on the Wentz side of is because I feel Wentz has done more with less and Dak has done less with more. That if the talent were the same, if they were the same guy, then the results in Dallas should be astronomically better than the results in Philadelphia because of the surrounding cast. Yes. It hasn't been that way. So no one's going to convince me that if you pick up Carson Wentz and drop him in Dallas, that the results aren't better because he's done better with less around him.
Brian, he's never played a playoff game. It doesn't matter. You have to play. How can I base off of what you do in clutch situations where you don't play in clutch situations?
You know what? Don't get hit in the back of the head by a dirty hit and you'll be fine.
Don't dive in the end zone and you won't tear your ACL.
Hey, he hasn't done that since, has he? He learned that one real quick.
Because he's never on the field.
Talent perspective, I don't know where Dak is. I don't know how much of his surroundings uplift him. If I'm going to put money into you, you need to be uplifting the team. Look at what Russell Wilson does in Seattle. That team is really not very good. It's really not, especially not what it used to be. But he lifts them up.
Yeah.
He makes them what they are. Look at Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Like, seriously, like we talk about, Devontae Adams, and that's great, right? And Devontae Adams is a good player. You wouldn't know him the way he is if he was anywhere else. Look at the guys who've left Green Bay and been absolute dog shit elsewhere else when they've left. Aaron Rodgers has been the straw that stirs the drink forever. Okay. So be careful what you wish for. I don't know. I wouldn't give him the money until I see one more healthy year. It's a huge decision. If he takes Jerry wants to give him a long-term deal and Jerry's terms, it's Jerry's money. What I think is ridiculous is the people that say, oh, Jerry should pay him because Jerry's rich. There is a salary cap in the NFL. I don't care if he was Jeff Bezos and owned the rest of the planet. It doesn't matter. If he could print money, it doesn't matter. There is a cap.
Those are idiots. Those are people that I call them pretender fans. Guys.
Or would you take Wentz Dak straight up trade? Right now.
Right now?
Would you take straight up trade? Dak comes back healthy.
Yeah, but Wentz getting $25 million now after the trade.
Wentz and Dak straight up?
Straight up.
Yeah.
It'd be cheaper.
He'd be cheaper against the cap, and that's a big problem. If you're telling me, Drew, that the defense needs help, and I agree with you in some cases, when I'm paying $40 million to a quarterback, that is less dollars I can use to allocate towards my problematic defense. Like, the money's got to add up. Like, if you get hurt in football paying guys elite money who aren't elite. Mahomes is not going to hurt you making that much money.
But that's Dallas' GM's fault. You gave Lawrence $100 million. The guy has below 10 sacks in 2 seasons.
I completely agree with that. Too much money.
That's a chunk of your defense right there. You gave Zeke $90 million at a running back position, which is the least valuable position in the NFL. I mean, that's all on Jerry.
Never should have drafted him. Never should have drafted him. They could. Guess what? You think Tennessee would trade Henry for Zeke right now? No, but
not a chance.
Get Henry.
I agree. Last night, the Hall of Fame was announced. Guys, Peyton Manning made it. No shocker there. Charles Warner made it. No shocker there. Calvin Johnson, Drew Pearson finally made it after so many years of not making it. Alan Faneca and John Lynch all have made the NFL Hall of Fame. Are we disappointed in this class? Is this the best class of all time? And the biggest Twitter beef right now that I am seeing, and that through my friends, is that Calvin Johnson got in over Reggie Wayne? Mike, let's start with you.
Get
How
out
do
of
you feel
here.
about all this?
I love that John Lynch got in. I think it's he probably should have got
Of
in.
course
last
you
year.
did.
That was my boy. He's a hard hitting defensive back that deserves to be in there. Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, no brainers. Calvin Johnson. I mean, he had it in the years he had with a bad Detroit team. He was that guy. I mean, Megatron really put up some stats, and I think he's a definite guy in there. Drew Pearson probably should have got in there a while ago too. Same thing with Alan Packer. But no, I'm happy with this class. Is the best of all time? I'd have to go back and look, but I mean it's a pretty loaded class. I mean, you got some really solid guys in there with Manning and Woodson in there. But I don't know. I'd have to go back and look if it's the class of all time. Definitely not disappointed. I think it's going to be a good class to get in there.
Do you agree that Calvin Johnson should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean he's got the numbers. I mean he didn't play that long of a career. He got out when I think he wanted to get out. He wanted to do it on his terms. Plus the trick was bad anyway. But no, I think he has the numbers, and I think he was that kind of receiver to get in on the first ballot.
Hold on, Alex. Daniel.
I don't think it's one of the best. It's up there. Like I do feel like Calvin Johnson deserved it because he was one of the bright spots on a bad franchise in the Lions. And I felt like he only retired early because of the rift that he had with the management there. I thought he would have probably played longer. And then, just like you said, he got out at the right time. But you got Peyton Manning, one of the best quarterbacks. Charles Woodson, he played, had a really great career, and then did win a Super Bowl. Calvin Johnson, Drew Pearson finally got in. It's been a while since Faneca was able to get in. He should have got in. And then I really like John Lynch. He was one of the catalysts of the Tampa Bay defense back when they won the Super Bowl and had those runs. You got guys like Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, and them. When they talked about that team, they would always mention John Lynch first because of how his leadership and then his hard hitting and then just playmaking. And it's just as a whole, it was just a really good draft. I'd probably put in like top 5 Hall of Fame classes, but I wouldn't put it 1.
Yeah, I agree. Top 5 for me is really good for me too as well. I got you, Mike. I'm a little hesitant with Calvin Johnson. I know Alex is going to be ripping his shirt off like Hulk Hogan here in a minute. Calvin Johnson, I think, is a legit receiver. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Famer, but the fact that he only played 10 years just worries me a little bit because here's why. Reggie Wayne has better numbers than him. I know he's played longer, but Reggie.
Who gives a fuck? He played with Peyton Manning. His stats are inflated.
Yeah,
No,
I agree. Yeah,
sorry.
Reggie
Calvin
Wayne's in the Hall of
Johnson
Fame.
had
I'm on Team
Bobby
Alex.
Boucher throwing him the
Stop.
ball
Yeah.
some of those years.
Stop.
And if you watched football,
Stop.
if you knew anything about football,
You
he's
don't know
probably the
anything.
biggest freak of nature at wide receiver to ever play in the NFL.
Oh my God! I'm
He
not saying that he's
absolutely
not.
is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And if
Oh,
you
my
don't
God.
think so, I discredit your football opinion.
Go eat a banana. Stop.
Period.
Brian, go ahead.
No, let me finish. I have
No,
more
you're
to
not.
talk
No,
about.
You're going last.
Oh my Lord.
Brian, go ahead.
All right. Look, I think it's nice that the NFL recognizes the rape job that John Lynch did on the Bears to move down from 2 to 3, get a 3 and a 4, and stick
Yep.
with Trubisky, and that alone should put him in the Hall of
That's
Fame.
a total screw job there. Yeah.
It's nice to the NFL acknowledge. It's nice to the NFL acknowledging Drew Pearson's pick of Chidobe Awuzie in the draft in 2017 in Philadelphia, where he went on stage and pissed everybody off. That was also very nice. I agree with Alex. Again, Reggie Wayne is a product of Peyton Manning. The problem with these guys, again, look at people. I'm not saying him because you don't really have a sample size outside of him. Guys have left Aaron Rodgers and done nothing. You are a product of your quarterback. So to me, Calvin Johnson was in like the worst possible situation for anybody ever in the league, and he put the numbers up that he had. I have no problem with that. I think Peyton Manning is number 1 or 2 in the most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen play, above Tom Brady. I get the championships, but I'm giving you talent here. I think he was better than Tom Brady just without the championship rings. No problem at all with the class whatsoever. I think it's very, very good. And I think that, for me, there's nobody here who's undeserving. And Calvin Johnson in a first ballot over Reggie Wayne, all the sense in the world.
Meads, go ahead, brother.
Well, I'm biased because I'm a Miami fan. I love Reggie Wayne. So, I mean, he's going to get in. Calvin Johnson he's just a freak. I didn't think he was going to make it the first time. I was actually surprised by him being picked.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, this class is legit. I mean, Charles Woodson, I grew up watching Charles Woodson in Michigan. I mean, just an unbelievable career. He's done it all. I mean, the guy's accomplished everything you could on a football field. I mean, amazing player. Same with Peyton Manning. So, I mean, yeah, this is a nice class. Not the best, but it's a nice class.
And I do want to say that Alan Vanica getting in finally, he should have been in a long time ago. 6 first-team All-Pros.
Yeah, it's disrespectful how long he had to wait to get in.
Ridiculous, dude. Just like
I
Drew
agree
Pearson.
I agree.
Hey, real quick, Joe. I just want to say it's interesting. 5 years ago, there was only 5 defensive backs in the Hall of Fame total. In the last 5 years of that, there's been a slew of guys that have been on the ballot now and gotten in. So,
there was a log
and
they finally started clearing them out. You know?
I mean,
because offense, just like in the NFL, gets all the love in the Hall of Fame as well because it's gaudy numbers. Yeah. But to me, I'm happy with this class, but I'm disappointed because Zach Thomas deserved to get in. I'm very disappointed that people are not talking about that. It's a slight. If you watched Zach play, he's in my top 10 all-time middle linebackers. We did our rankings a while ago. He's up there for me, and a lot of people I'm in the minority with that. But if you watch that man play, I mean, I was happy as well that John Lynch got in. I think he's highly underrated. I think people did not give him as much credit for as good as he was. Alan Faneca, like we talked about, and Drew Pearson. I mean, it's disrespectful the fact that they waited as long as they did to get in. We knew Peyton was the first ballot Hall of Famer, even though he's a choke artist in the playoffs. And Charles Woodson, I mean, you can't argue with his resume. The guy's phenomenal. So, listen, Reggie deserves to get in 100%. I'm not going to argue with you there, but he doesn't deserve to get in over Calvin Johnson.
No,
I agree.
If I'm voting for Calvin first, but Reggie Wayne's a close second to me, but he's just not he's not elite like Calvin was. That's my only thing. I don't care what the numbers say because of that offense. I mean, look at all the numbers. Marvin Harrison's numbers are inflated because he played with Peyton Manning.
I agree entirely.
If Marvin Harrison plays on a different team, he's not a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Let's be realistic. I'm not joking.
You can't catch balls that don't come near you.
Elite receiver.
Yeah,
route running technician. That is not all.
My Lord.
Drew, the talent could be there.
Oh my
if
God.
Mitch Trubisky's throwing you the ball, you're not catching it.
Right. I mean, why?
Hopkins was able to catch it. You don't think Marvin Harrison could do the same thing?
As Hopkins
with TJ Yates? Are you kidding me?
No. Marvin Harrison and DeAndre Hopkins are in 2 different stratospheres of talent. Let's not be idiotic here.
I'm not saying that. Marvin Harrison.
Let's not
being idiotic at all.
Don't take our show into the toilet right now, Drew, because you're going that way. You're flushing the toilet right now. You think that Marvin Harrison is in the same category
I'm not saying that he's
as
not
DeAndre Hopkins talent-wise?
I'm saying he's elite.
Watch 2 different TVs.
He's elite.
We have different sets of eyes, man. I don't.
Yeah, you're smoking too much. That's what the difference.
Oh my goodness, dude!
All right, we're moving to second down.
Marvin Harrison and DeAndre Hopkins. Geez.
All right, check out this commercial real quick before we start second down, guys.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Do we see the confetti fall? Be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Do we see the confetti fall? Be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you won't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block, throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look, what's the top dish? Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, swish. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti ball, be ready for war. This is how champions are made, but it never happens in a day. It's all hard work, but it's why what happens when we play 9 out of 10 times. I'ma left you.
Yes, sir. That's all the shows on the buzz right now, and you can check them out all week. Second down, let's get in, guys. I'm going to go through each award real quick. If you disagree with it, let me know, and we can talk about it. If not, we're moving on because I want to talk about the Super Bowl and get Mike even more wet. So here we go. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert. Anybody have any issues with that? You better not. Everybody agree?
Listen, all these clowns on Twitter and everywhere are saying Justin Jefferson was robbed. That's moronic. Justin Herbert plays the most important position in football. He absolutely was the stud of the class since old boy got hurt in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. We don't know how that would have went, right? It was them 1 and 2 every week. So Justin Herbert stayed healthy. He deserves the award. They got 4 more wins because of his talent than they should have this year.
Damn it. Anybody else? Any issues? Nothing? We're
I
good?
think they should send at least a thank you card, like one of those fruit baskets, like those edible arrangements to the doctor who decided to stab Tyrod.
Oh, 100%.
None of this happens if not.
He gets position of the year.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, he's very deserving, and I'll tell Brian this. I always toot my own horn with this. I liked Allen coming out. I thought he was going to be really good, and I thought Herbert was going to be good this year. Next year's class, I'm going to give you Kyle Trask from Florida. I think the kid's going to be a stud. He's a winner, and I think he's going to be really good in the NFL.
That's another top for the day. Don't even.
I like Mike. You know, I made all these picks every year. The last 2 consecutive years, I've called the best quarterback in the draft, Allen, and I told him Herbert was the best freaking pick that they were going to. And he was on board.
I never argue with that.
I don't think he knew. I knew this kid was going to be a stud. Not a typical Oregon quarterback.
Nope.
I'll make sure to tell Bleacher Report that you called it. Defensive Player of the Year, Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald. I know Brian has an issue. I have an issue, but go ahead.
I do.
It's probably the same issue. It's probably the same issue.
So do we all agree that it should have been TJ Watt?
100%. I don't even understand. Like we agree that
contest.
we agree that Aaron Donald on normal almost every year should be defensive player of the year for most years. But what TJ Watt did was absolutely fantastic.
I agree.
Here. And I don't know how it just doesn't make sense.
Wasn't Donald hurt like 3 games this year?
See, but
I think he played 2 less games than TJ Watt. Or
one.
TJ Watt played 1 less than Aaron Donald and still dwarfed his numbers.
But this is why these awards, if you really boil it down, don't mean anything. They are literally voted on by the writers. If the writers like you, you're going to win awards. It's the same with Baseball's Hall of Fame, which Schilling's argument is valid. Like, this is not a statistical, you had the best year. It's, it's if we like you or not.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just like anybody who puts the single season awards above, I don't know, winning championships might just be an idiot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think we can agree.
Offensive Player of the Year, Titans running back Derrick Henry. Anybody got issues with that?
Nope.
No.
Beast.
It should probably
He
be.
should have got more MVP consideration for what he did.
Probably should have been Patrick Mahomes, but I get it.
Defensive Rookie of the Year, Washington Football Team defensive end Chasen Young. Any issues?
I don't have issues because I think he made the most impact, but there were a lot of players in this category that were deserving this year.
Yeah, he really came on the second half of the year.
I think this was the closest
I'm
race
fine with it.
if I had to bet out of all of them.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it. I could have thought maybe you could have had a thought that maybe Antoine Winfield could have been in the consideration, but I definitely think Chase Young was the choice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have Winfield number 2.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that. Comeback Player of the Year, Washington Football Team, Alex Smith. I told Alex that this was going to happen. He was going to start. He was going to be special. and he had to eat some crow because he was.
No,
No,
I
you didn't.
agreed for
You
him
didn't.
being I agreed for him being
That's
alive that he win comeback player of the year. The fact that he's alive.
There's actually some
Comeback
Twitter
player of
beef
the
on this, guys. Yeah, a lot of people thought Big Ben should have won this because
Get out of here.
No, I'm not lying to you.
That's not
There
even
was some Twitter
close.
beef going on.
When Alex Smith ran to the game and played one snap, it was over. That
Exactly
was
right.
done. Question.
Comeback player of the year. Just for being on the roster, not being dead.
Exactly.
It was-
Yep. Yep.
Coach of the year, Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. I have no issues with this at all.
I said this was the
Bills.
worst hire. So what the hell do I know?
McDermott should have won that. McDermott.
No,
I
John
disagree.
McDermott,
I disagree.
Bills head coach.
it's
Was he number 2?
Yeah, I think McDermott finished second. But,
No.
I mean, it was a close race, but you can't argue with what
yeah.
Stefanski did with an absolute atrocious franchise for the last 20 years.
Mhm.
You know, we made the playoffs and we won a game in our, opponent's home field.
Here's
Right.
here's the difference. I think it's because, and again, I said Kevin Stefanski was the worst coaching hire of the offseason, and I'm wrong all the time, so that's just consistent for me. But I think Stefanski wins it because he took pretty much the same exact roster that was there a year before and just took it to new heights. Whereas I think you can look at Buffalo and say that the reason for their success was the maturation of Josh Allen.
Correct.
It's not hard, but I don't disagree with Stefanski winning, but it's not hard to go into this roster and say, "Oh, I got Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Well, what am
Yeah.
I going to do? Oh, run, and play action, roll out for Baker Mayfield." Like it's crazy to me that the coach last year, I don't even remember his name, couldn't even
Freddie Kitchens?
couldn't even function to know what offense to run with both these running backs. It just makes no sense to me at all whatsoever. You don't have Baker throw the ball more than 40 times. It's not a recipe for success to win.
First overall pick in the draft, Drew.
I don't care.
I
don't care.
Hey, listen, common sense is not that common. And, the average person's a moron and half people are dumber than that moron. So,
Right.
that is what it is.
And Freddie Kitchens was never a head coach at any level until he got to the NFL. So that tells you right there that anything you're going to hire, they could have hired me and I could have done a better job. I mean, that's just moronic.
MVP was Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who deserves it. I'm happy for him. I know a lot of people are shaking their heads. I don't know why. Almost over 51 touchdowns combined this year. You got to give it to him. Anybody have any issues? Ameed's shaking his head. Ameed's was wrong.
He's a Bears fan.
He just hates
Oh,
it.
okay.
This generation's Peyton Manning, supposedly the best, but highly
he's sitting on-
overrated.
Yeah, he's sitting on the couch today. Just like the Bears are. So
I mean, I will say, listen, you can make a cogent case, though, for Tom Brady, given the fact that he took pretty much the same team that last year was a disaster, and they're in a Super Bowl. I mean, you can make that case. I'm not.
I'd have been okay with Patrick Mahomes winning again over this clown.
I mean, you could also say with Rodgers, he has the best wide receiver in the game. I mean, the guy missed 3 games and had 18 touchdowns this year. So, but still, Rodgers had a phenomenal year. I think you got to give it to him.
Listen, I agree with Brian's assessment for previous wide receivers in Green Bay, but Devontae Adams is a top wide receiver on any team.
I agree.
For the most part.
But
I mean,
I think-
Trubisky's throwing him the ball. Probably ain't happened. Foles, those
But
guys.
the numbers, but
the
numbers aren't what they are. That's all. That's all I'm saying is like the gaudy numbers that which is why, because again, fantasy production. If he's helped my fantasy team, is a great player. That's how we all view this now. So I think he got to play this year because of what he did for fantasy. I think if he's on the Browns, has a great year. Doesn't have that year.
I think I would
You
tend
think
to.
Aaron Rodgers will have the same year with
No,
No, he's saying Devontae Adams.
I was about to come over and
With-
tackle you.
with Baker Mayfield throwing him
God.
the ball
Adams
by
is Cleveland.
Aaron
He's not
Rodgers.
putting up numbers.
Aaron Rodgers and Cleveland Browns offense
yeah.
would be a Super Bowl winner.
Super Bowl. Oh yeah.
Oh my
Oh, yeah, thank
God.
you. I said this a while ago when we thought Green Bay was going to trade him. Please give up fucking everything.
Let's-
You just
Get
you
that
just said
guy.
he's overrated.
If you look,
He
You
is
just said he's
overrated.
overrated.
He consistently chokes in the playoffs, but what he does
Pick the
in
narrative.
I don't think the Cleveland and Green Bay rosters outside of starting quarterback are all that different.
Within 2 years, Rodgers will not be a Green Bay
What?
Packer. How about that? How about that prediction?
Brian,
In 2 years,
what?
Rodgers will not be a Green
If you
Bay
take
Packer.
quarterbacks off, rosters of 52.
You don't think the Cleveland Browns have a superior
I think
roster
Green
to
Bay's
the
defense is
Green Bay
underrated. Green
Packers?
Bay's defense is underrated. I think it's better than it should. I think coaching's very bad there. What I'm saying is, if you swap the quarterbacks, Green Bay's nowhere near as good, and Cleveland wins the Super Bowl.
We go 5 wide receivers deep, 3 tight ends deep, the best offensive line hands down in the NFL, and you think the rosters are close?
They're pretty close.
You guys are not
Oh
fair.
my
David
lord!
Bakhtiari is the
Your
best
offensive line
is
isn't
the
better
best
than
offensive
Indy.
lineman in the league.
Indy
Oh
has
my
a better
gosh.
offensive line. Stop.
I probably
Pro Football Focus in every category. It was
Pro
the
Football
Cleveland Browns.
Focus 3 years ago, the Eagles had the best receivers in football.
They did.
They did at the time.
No, they didn't.
Oh, they didn't.
I was 50-50 on this.
right.
I kind of thought that you could have went Josh Allen with the MVP, and he had a big case for it for the team that he's on, not having a running game, no tight end. He had Stephen Diggs, and then Beasley did good, but they don't have the best line. And then they focused on him to do a lot of the offense. It was on Allen. I feel like you had Rodgers. Rodgers had a great year, but I think they had similar stats. I know you can't go by stats, but he had better talent surrounded by him, and they both finished the same spot. They both lost in the championship games, and both teams did well. But I felt like Allen was more of the offense in Buffalo than Rodgers was in Green Bay, because Rodgers had a running game. He had 2 running backs that he could rely on to take pressure off of him, and Jones and Williams.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But 51 total touchdowns just breaks everything for me.
Well, I think Allen had 50.
But that's playoffs included.
No, it's not.
Ye-
No, it's not.
Yes,
Aaron
it
Rodgers in
is.
regular season?
Oh my god!
Go look it up. All right. Meanwhile, third round full preview. We're gonna break down
Wild
position
card.
and phases and see who has the edge. Quarterback. Everybody, who has the edge? Kansas City or Tampa Bay?
Please.
Yeah, are we saying Kansas City?
Yes.
Yes.
Mike.
Mike?
Yeah.
I think it's very close, but slight nod to Mahomes.
A slight nod?
No, I agree with you. I don't think it's like a landslide,
No.
but because of the
running ability, one can run, one can't. So
well, it's not
I
just
think
that,
helps.
but Mahomes has got more arm talent at this point than Tom. He probably has it even at Tom's peak. Let's be honest. Tom's never thrown the ball sideways, sidearm stuff like that. Athletically, he's a little bit more athletically gifted. But the brain that Tom Brady has
Can I give you a
is
stat here?
superior to Patrick Mahomes.
Let me give you a stat here.
Please, Brian.
Jake Delhome's 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl have traveled for more yards than Tom Brady's 18 touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
Regular season.
No, Super Bowl.
Aaron Rodgers, 48 touchdowns. Like I said,
Did you
I
count the
knew
rushing?
he didn't have.
He
Did
threw
you count
him.
the rushing?
You were talking about
Total
passes.
touchdowns.
Shut the
No,
hell
I said
up.
total touchdowns.
No,
He
you
did-
yeah.
did not.
It's all right. You didn't listen.
Yeah, I
I
know.
did.
You got
Hey,
caught
Brian.
on air
Brian.
looking like a juggalo.
No, hey, Brian heard me. Brian heard me.
Junior, I get it.
He did say
Brian heard me. Brian heard me. Running backs. Who's better?
He had three rushing. So 51. Yeah, 48 and 3.
Anyways,
I know my stats.
yeah, no.
Kansas City or Tampa Bay? Who has the better running backs, guys?
I think it's Tampa by a slight edge.
Yeah, I'm going to say Ron Jones is very underrated. He's had a quiet year. I actually trashed him in the beginning of the year. I didn't think he was going to be that guy, but he's really proved me wrong. He's played well, and Fournette's come out in the last couple of games and played really well for them. So yeah, I'll give it.
I honestly think Ronald Jones is underwhelming. I thought he was going to be much better than he has been, but he hasn't been terrible. I just expected more. I really did.
Maybe a top 10 back, maybe snuck in the top 10,
Right.
maybe. So
And Leonard Fournette obviously is what he is and would be a starter on a lot of teams.
Wasn't
Yeah.
he fifth in the league in rushing? Jones?
he was. I think he was 2. He was right there. He was in the top.
I think
3.
he was 2. I think he just
It's Tampa Bay by a landslide for me.
I
Leonard
agree.
Fournette and Ronald Jones. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been very, very just underperforming for me as a rookie this year. and Le'Veon Bell is just non-existent these days.
Well, yeah, he's nowhere near what he was.
Wide receivers. I got Tampa Bay. Alex?
It's tough for me here because I know Kelsey is a tight end, but he really is the best wide receiver in this game.
I got tight ends in a different group. So
I know, but I'm just saying, I know
Okay.
he's considered that, but to me, even though he plays tight end, he's a wide receiver.
I know.
What
I
he
get what you're
does is wide receiver, right? It's like the argument we had when Jimmy Graham didn't get paid wide receiver money, right? It's the same thing. He should get paid wide receiver money. But strictly on wide receivers, I think Tampa Bay has more depth, but I think Tyreek Hill is the most talented wide receiver in this. So I'm always going to go with the most talented. So I'm going to give and I mean, it's like sliver of edge to Kansas City. Sliver.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Kansas City, but I feel like Kansas City wide receivers as a group fit the system that they run compared to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which has
That's fair.
Antonio Brown, Mike Evans. I mean, it's close, but KC in the system, I'm gonna go with those running backs.
Wide receivers.
Wide receivers. Yeah.
That was a great explanation. Daniel?
Yeah, I think Tampa has better talent at the position, but I think overall, I got to give it to Kansas City for what they do, like he said, in the system with how they run, with using their speed and getting in space.
Brian?
Alex really did it really well. To me, it's quantity versus quality. I mean, yes, Tampa Bay's got great wide receivers including Mike Evans, despite what Alex said, but
I didn't say he.
No. I'm just. Godwin, Brown. I mean, again, from a numbers perspective,
Scotty Miller too. Like people forget about Scotty Miller.
I'm gonna say Scotty Miller, yeah.
No play at all. But I think though Tyreek Hill causes more of an issue by himself than the three of them do together, because you can't really plan against that. You can't really scheme against the speed that he has. Right. So
who you got?
To me, it's very much a wash, but I will go towards the single individual more talented players. So Kansas City by
you can barely see it.
I mean, you got Tyreek Hill as an elite receiver, but then you got Sammy Watkins, who I think there's a little bit, obviously, a drop off there. But you talk about Mike Evans and Godwin. I mean, they're two guys that get it done for the Bucs. They're not tremendously talented as Tyreek Hill, but they're very good on the Bucs. And listen, you want a prop bet today? Take the Scotty Miller over, because I think they're going to get him involved a lot in the game today. They're going to have to. And here's a guy who gets a lot of third downs for them. So he's a guy that gets involved in the offense as well. So I'm taking Kansas City, but not by too much.
Right.
So it's a wash. We're tied at 1-1. Tight ends, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be Kansas City all day. Does anybody have any issues with that?
2-1, right? Tampa.
I'll tell you what. If
we're running back and wide receiver,
if Cameron Brate was 100% today, I'd say they could use Gronkowski and Brate, but Brate's not 100%. He's questionable. So yeah, I'll give it to Kelsey. He's a beast.
Yeah, I got Kelsey too. So that's gonna put it at Chiefs 2 and Tampa Bay 1, with the wide receivers being a wash. Offensive line, I got Tampa Bay. Kansas City's missing Eric Fisher. They're missing their other tackle. I got Tampa Bay for today.
Their center's out too, correct?
Their center's out too, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even close.
Right? Are we all agreeing to Tampa Bay?
Yeah,
okay.
Especially today.
Good. So
yeah,
2-2.
Absolutely.
D-line. We got Chris Jones at Kansas City. We got Ndamukong Suh at Tampa Bay. I mean, it's
Pierre-Paul.
Vita.
Listen,
Tampa Bay.
This is why Tampa wins games. Brady's like, the headliner, and he gets the commercials and all the play, yada, yada, yada. This is a very good defensive line. Despite the fact, I'm gonna hit Mike a little bit here. Mike was very upset when they drafted Vita Vea because he wanted
Derwin James.
Yeah, he wanted Derwin James at
Wednesday. And I wanted Fitzpatrick.
He did want Minka. But this is the game is won in the trenches, and this is a very, very big weapon for Tampa Bay, especially in a game like today. And the pass rush.
Oh yeah.
And I'll tell you this, Vita Vea to me is a good defensive lineman. He's not the elite guy I think they thought he was going to be, but he clogs up the middle. I mean, say what you want about it. He clogs up the middle and causes havoc. And that line,
a cogger, dude. You need a cogger in the teams, and he can cog. He is huge when he came back for you guys in the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, if he's not elite, he's damn close.
He's close.
He's very impressive to me. I mean, I feel like just the attitude of your defense with him in the middle is night and day difference. You can see the confidence that everybody else has around him
Yep.
because of, what the impact. I think it's the Tampa Bay, not even close. It's not even a conversation.
All right. So we got a 2-3 Tampa Bay linebackers.
This isn't even close.
Yeah, I got Tampa Bay.
Not even
Same thing.
close.
Tampa Bay, not even
Just
not
move
even a
on.
conversation.
Let's
No.
move on.
Who are the linebackers for Kansas City? I don't even know any of their names.
Kitchens, that's it.
All
Yeah,
gotta know
there
is
you go. I
Devin
forgot.
White-
You're right.
Devin
Kitchens
White
is good.
Yeah.
is probably going to make about 70% of the tackles during a game. He is all over the place. Him
Yeah.
and David are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Monsters.
Kansas City will be without Gay today too as well because he's out.
Right.
So,
and they got Shaq Barrett, who's playing for a contract. So, I mean,
corners.
I got
This
the
is
Chiefs.
tough.
it's
Tampa's
close.
played better.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
it's,
I don't necessarily know the talent is. I think the results have been better.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna lean towards Kansas City a little bit, but Antonio Winfield Jr. has had a monster year. Bunting back there, he's been playing well. You got to worry about Carlton Davis back there and some other guys back there, but I'll lean towards the Chiefs a little bit with the Honey Badger and some other guys back that I'm a little worried about today.
The
So.
Badgers is safety.
Yeah, right. You didn't go secondary. You went corner. So we're
Yeah.
going
Oh, sorry.
position by position. So yeah,
Safeties are next.
I give a slight edge to Kansas City.
As do I.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'm
we
with
got it. We got it. 5-3 safeties. For me, it's Kansas City.
Kansas City, it's not even
Badgers
close.
better than all of them. I like Hunty Back, and Soros has been playing really well for Kansas
Yeah.
City. He fits Spangola's defense like a glove. So he's that Derwin James type of guy where he can line up by the outside linebacker position, play the dime. He does all that stuff. So I like Sorensen a lot. I like Kansas City safeties a lot more than Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I don't think you can quantify Honey Badger's value. He just is. He's sheer energy for that defense, and
Free
he's,
agent.
I mean, yeah, I'd love for the Browns to pick him up. But anyways,
Cowboys will love to pick him up.
well, I'm sure they would, but they ain't got no money. So have fun with that.
We are broke.
So are we all agreeing?
Broke. We ain't got it.
Yeah.
Are we all,
Yeah, Kansas City. Yes.
are we all agreeing to Kansas City?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of feel like an intriguing matchup is the defensive coaches, Bowles and Spags. I mean, I think they're both.
Wait. You're
Oh, you're
Don't-
going
don't-
there? Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
going there. I'm
we're
going there.
going.
Hold on.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Hold
We're
on.
getting there.
special team.
Keep it in your pants, Meads.
Yeah, special teams.
I didn't know. We were
I think
going
it's
there.
Kansas
Okay.
City.
I think Buckner is the best kicker in this game. So I'm gonna go with Kansas City just
Over Tucker?
and Tucker.
You know what?
Oh, in this
Buffalo has
game.
had a
I
good
know.
year.
I thought you were saying like in the NFL.
And they also
Butker.
have the best
Oh,
returner in McCole
I was
Hardman.
thinking you were
I'm gonna
saying
go
like
with
in the NFL, Butker was the best
No.
kicker. Okay, sorry.
I
I'll go
agree,
Kansas
but
City.
Stuckup has had a good quiet year.
Oh, yeah, he's killing it.
He's a dependable kicker for them. I think they finally got their kicker after like 8 years.
Right. Yeah.
If
Mr.
they're a
Irrelevant.
bio mess.
Yeah, Robert Aguayo wasn't good enough for you guys.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So are we all agreeing that it's Kansas City?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I think it's more likely of anybody to like run a kickback that it's Kansas City. If you think
Yeah.
back to the Saints game, they were gashed on the
They
ground.
were.
in returns.
True.
Coaching. Who do we think has the better coaching staff for this game?
Well, that depends. Who are we saying is coaching Tampa? Arians or Brady?
Stop.
I think that's a
We're
fair
not
question.
bringing Brady in this. We're bringing coaching staff.
Listen,
Then it's
Todd Bowles has done a number with that defense this year.
Yes,
He
he has.
really well near the end of the year. So if you're going to say coaching staff, you might have to go a little bit of nod to the Bucks. Maybe I know Andy Reid's been there. and won
No.
a Super Bowl,
You're not
but-
gonna give Spangola some love?
No, it's Kansas City.
Yeah, it's Kansas City only. I mean, Andy Reid is, worth 3 coaches on another team. He just what he does with that
Alex,
offense.
Would you believe he got fired in Philly? I don't understand.
Couldn't
Yeah.
win the couldn't win
Daniel's
the
getting
big
so red.
he couldn't win the big game. Couldn't win the big game, right? What
The draft.
it was all his fault. Couldn't win the big game.
The
man.
draft.
His quarterback was out in bars and drinking before the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
that sounds about right.
Good old T.O. Yeah, I got
So-
Kansas City. For me, it's Kansas City. I get where Mike's saying with Todd Bowles. I love Brian Leftwich as OC. I think he's done a great job this year. But Tom Brady makes any OC's job a lot more easier. So I'm not really going to give him the edge on that. I like Bieniemy. I know Andy Reid makes the play calls and all that. I still think that's his day. And Andy Reid alone is pedestals above Bruce Arians, for my opinion. So I'm going Kansas City.
Doesn't Mahomes make the enemy's job easier?
Oh no, it does.
I
But
was
Andy
gonna say the
Reid,
same
Andy
thing.
Reid was
Doesn't
doing this.
doesn't Tyreek
This is Andy
Hill,
Reid's
Travis
system.
Kelce,
This
Cole
is Andy Reid's
Hardeman?
system.
Discussion for a different day, but these might be the reasons why he hasn't gotten a head coaching job, because they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they probably get the X and O's part, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's a clown." Good thing he's got Patrick Mahomes and
All right.
Andy Reid.
I need 3 key factors for Kansas City to win this game. We're gonna go one each. Daniel, go ahead.
I think it's the running game. They need to get it going early, and then they need to take pressure off of Mahomes. I know it's Mahomes, but he's still probably a little bit injured, and then he can't rely on just throwing it up to Tyreek Hill the whole game, especially if Tampa decides to make adjustments like they didn't make last game where they played him single coverage. They're going to want to double him, have Davis or whoever cover him, and then have the safety over top. So you want to try and get the running game going so it opens up the middle of the field. And then when they try and cover that, they're going to have to single coverage. And then, with how Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, he can make that happen. So I think that they need to get the running game going early.
One factor, Brian, for the Kansas City to win this game.
Get the lead early like you did in week 12. Make Tampa Bay one-dimensional. Make Tom Brady beat you, because I don't know that he can.
Mike.
I think you couldn't say it better with the run. I mean, Kansas City's got to establish the run against this, really good Tampa Bay line. I mean, they played them before and torched them in the secondary, and I think the Bucs know that. They're going to give help over the top now for Tyreek Hill, and it's going to be tough to do that. So they're going to have to kind of balance it out against the Bucs. They're going to need to get the running game going.
Meads.
For me, I always look at third down conversions, man. If a team could get off the field, I think it's very important. If Kansas City could keep Tom off the field, 3 and outs, cut down on his third down conversions, I think that's really an important part of the game in every football game. I really look at that stat. It's very important to me.
Alex, one factor.
To me, it's turnovers. People forget that Patrick Mahomes almost cost Kansas City the game last year twice with those interceptions, and Jimmy Garoppolo's a clown and didn't capitalize on either one of them. So we'd be talking about a totally different narrative if San Francisco, Garoppolo would have been 50% of what people think he is, and he'd have cashed in on one of those 2 late turnovers that Patrick Mahomes coughed up, those 2 interceptions. So, I mean, I think it's turnovers, 100%.
Okay. For me, guys, it's protection. New offensive lineman in there. Mahomes needs time to throw. I think protections give the key factor for him. Also dealing with the turf toe. So we also have to put that in a factor. I really think that the backup tackle, the backup guard, the backup center need to give Mahomes time against that stud defensive front. So I'm going to go with protection being the key for them. What will be the key factors for the Tampa Bay Bucs to win this game? Brian, we're going to start with you.
It's kind of the inverse. Do not fall behind and do not become one-dimensional, because if you are down 21-0, you're probably not going to be able to run the ball. And that's where a big strength of yours is. You cannot rely on Brady to just air it out in this game. I don't think he's built to do that. And he hasn't really ever done that on this stage. So if you want to start using your rushing attack, which is better than your opponents, you need to stay in the game. If you're down 2 scores in a big spot, listen, start throwing the ball, Tom. Start throwing the ball, Tom. That's not a recipe for success. So I think, to me, don't fall behind and maybe try to get a lead.
Mike, I'm going to save you for last. Meads.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brian. You got to run the ball today.
Do we lose him?
Off the
Is he breaking
field
up?
and then work Tom Brady's.
Uh-oh.
Come back to him. I think he might break it up.
Come back. Alex.
Listen, I mean, I disagree with Brian about Brady not being able to air it out. I believe the guy holds the record for most passing yards in a game in the Super Bowl. I know they lost the game, but
I think it was
The
more
defense he has this year is much better than the defense he had in that game. So, listen, to me, it's turnovers. Tom can't have 3 turnovers like he did against Aaron Rodgers because Patrick Mahomes is not a choke artist like Aaron Rodgers. So he's got to keep the ball. Tampa Bay can't turn over the ball. If they have 1 turnover, they might be able to escape. But I think Tampa Bay wins this game. We're not talking about that, but I think as long as they have 1 or less turnover, they can win this game.
I think everybody's missing the point here. For me, the key to Tampa Bay's victory is defense. And defense, I mean third down conversion, stopping Patrick Mahomes, who extends the play, who's able to move around and be able to do what he's needed to do to get the team going, for the offense to keep going. The defense needs to play good. The front needs to play better. Clog the run. Give pressure to Mahomes. Don't let him extend the play. Don't let him move around the pocket. Don't let him have time. Todd Bowles has got to be essential in his play calling and blitz coverages and all that stuff in today's game. That needs to happen for this defense to win, for Tampa to win, and for Tom Brady to get his 7th ring. Tom Brady's going to do his thing. I already know he's going to do his thing. The thing is the defense needs to do their thing. They need one more game for them to propel them to hold the Lombardi. Daniel.
I think it's pretty easy. Don't let Tyreek Hill beat you, because that's what got you beat last time. He torched him for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns because they decided they wanted to single coverage all the receivers instead of putting protection behind Hill, and then he torched them that way. They want to put a safety behind him. Don't let him beat you. You can let Watkins and Holman get you, but they're going to get their catches, but they're not going to beat you for long plays. And then you want to keep the score close early by not letting him get to you. That way you can get your game going and kind of change the game, because they only lost by, 3 points in that game, even though he tortured them in the first half. Well, what was that?
27-24, yep.
Yeah. So if you can keep him from getting to you, you can slow the game down, and that benefits Tampa Bay more than it does Kansas City.
Because if you double bracket Hill, you're going to have to depend on a slot corner to be on Kelsey all game. That's what they need to do. That's the only way. This is only the formula you're going to beat them. San Francisco did it, and the reason why San Francisco did not win is because of what Alex said. Jimmy G could not get them to the promised land where they needed to go. San Francisco should have won the Super Bowl last year.
100%.
But they messed up. 100%. Kyle Shanahan messed up. So with that being said, you have to go at this and play a full 60-minute game, double bracket the best, arguably the best player in the game in Hill, and you got to pray to God that you can defend Kelsey for 60 minutes one-on-one. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. Meads, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're going to have to keep the matchups are so important here. It's kind of, you got to gamble with who you're going to roll your coverage to and who you're going to single cover, double cover. So it's imperative that they slow these guys down.
Man, the hate is real.
I agree, Meads. I agree with you, and I love it. Mike, finish it up for us, brother.
So you got to – the defense, I agree with you, Drew, but I'm going to take it one step further. They got to do something they did in the last 2 games when Brady threw interceptions. They have to not only get turnovers, they have to capitalize on turnovers, and that's what's helping the Buccaneers defense is when they get a turnover, you kick a field goal or score a touchdown. On this Kansas City team that's a high-powering offense, you get a turnover, you have to capitalize. If not, it's going to be a long day for the Bucs.
19, I believe it was 19 points 2 weeks ago against Aaron Rodgers that they capitalized on, especially at their side of the end zone. Guys, real quick before we get to our final prediction, does a loss hurt Tom Brady's legacy and GOAT status? Anyone think that it hurts it?
No chance.
Nope.
No? No one?
He's been there. He's done this. He's been at the show before. He's won 6. Man, Moore's got to win.
He'll be 6-4 if he loses today. He'll be 7-3 if he wins.
I mean, listen. Everybody talks about LeBron. He's lost more than he's won in the finals. So guess what? Nah,
listen. You get to 10 Super Bowls. That's ridiculous.
That's 20.
With a different team.
So if you get to 10 finals, isn't that ridiculous? Like in the same aspect, that's what cracks me up about this. Like
he's 4-6.
Okay. He drug a YMCA team to the finals.
No, I'm not getting into it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
this
Put
to you.
Jordan on that team.
I'm not
They're
gonna do
fucking
this. No, they're not.
4-78.
They're not.
Shut the hell up.
Easy
Drew, get
conference
me on the
trash.
show with him, and we'll talk basketball about
Easy
LeBron.
conference
I'll go
trash.
toe to him. It's no
Yeah.
problem.
Okay. Let's get into it, guys. Final prediction. Daniel, we're gonna start with you. We're gonna end with Mike because it's Mike's team.
I think the Chiefs are going to win, and I got it 35-28. I think
Whoa!
I think it's going to be close going into the fourth quarter, and then I got Mahomes winning it with 2 minutes left.
And who's getting MVP?
Mahomes.
Let's go with Meads.
I'm rolling with Patrick Mahomes today. I'm going Chiefs over. Heavy Chiefs alternate line here. I'm going Chiefs alternate line minus 13.5. I think they win by 2 touchdowns today. Mark it down.
Who's MVP? You go Mahomes MVP?
MVP is Kelsey. Blowing up over 90.
Damn it!
Yards. Over 98.5 yards to score a touchdown.
Damn. Brian.
I don't know look, the Bucks have not lost since they lost this game to the Chiefs, but the score of that game was the Chiefs went up and then they let the foot off the gas. That's exactly what happened. I don't look, this is a team of destiny if there ever was one. And we talk about the Pats and the dynasty and everything. We're like, oh, that'll never happen again. We're like in the middle of it now. Like I don't see this team losing a lot of these in the next couple of years, the way that they're built, especially with that quarterback at 25. So, look, it's a great story. Look, Tom took the team to the Super Bowl. That's wonderful. I, had nothing personally against Tom Brady. This is not the spot for him. I mean, they proved it when they last played. So I like the Chiefs. Like if you like an alternate line, I like minus 6.5 at the very least, get a touchdown win. I do like a 35 number, Dan. That's probably where I'm at right now too. Like a 35, 25, 30. I think your number's good. And I think that this is going to be a situation where, again, they're facing a worse defense than they had last year that the Niners had. Offense is better for Tampa Bay, but I like the Chiefs here. And I think that they cover. I think there's going to be a lot of money coming in on Tom that will lose.
Alex.
I'll take bets from all you clowns. Tampa Bay 38, Kansas City 28. Patrick Mahomes has at least 2 interceptions in this game because the cocky motherfucker is overrated this year. And I'm telling you right now, if I hear another interview from this clown talking about he thinks he's the best already and he's only going to get better, I hope he chokes on a hot dog today. And they're going to lose by at least 10. He throws 2 picks, guaranteed. Tampa Bay wins. Tom gets his 7th. But in a shocker, I think White gets MVP.
Linebacker White?
Yep. I think he has 3 sacks and maybe an interception in this game and truly change it. Now, they'll probably give it to Tom, but I think White has an absolute stud game and will deserve it, even if he doesn't get it.
Good Lord.
I can't stand these cocky kids this generation,
the
man.
Hot takes
I'm the best already.
Woo! Okay. First and foremost, I am excited about this Super Bowl more than I have been the last couple of years. I think this is the 2 best teams that should be playing. I think if Green Bay or New Orleans would have made this game, it would have been a lot worse. But with Tampa Bay, I think they have the best defense to go against Patrick Mahomes, believe it or not. 27-24, Week 12 game. This game, to me, just speaks of the 2000 and I believe it was 2003 Super Bowl. Carolina against New England. I think that's how the game is going to go. I think Tom Brady, and everybody's going to laugh at this, but I think it's going to be just looking in the mirror of how he won that game is how he's going to win this game today. 31-30 Tampa Bay, suck up with the 35-yard field goal to win the game. And MVP, if I'm picking an MVP here, I'm not going to go with Tom. I think it's going to go to Leonard Fournette. I think Leonard Fournette's going to get a lot of touchdown opportunities in the red zone, and I think they're going to really focus on the running game.
That's a hell of a hot take. I like that.
And I think the play action is going to be his bread and butter throughout this game. I think Brady's only going to throw 22 to 25 times, and they're going to rely on time of possession, because if there's one thing that this guy Tom Brady knows about is being a GOAT, is time of possession. And I think time of possession is going to be huge for Tampa Bay in this offense. The defense is going to do what they can do, but to control the clock, your best defense is to put Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines and not let him do anything and let him comb his hair. Tom Brady and this offense is going to be the vocal point through Leonard Fournette and through Ronald Jones, but I think Leonard Fournette is going to get the most opportunities in the red zone because Ronald Jones scares us a lot with fumbling. So I'm going to go with Leonard Fournette, red zone MVP, 31-30, Tampa Bay. Brian, go ahead.
So Harrison Butker's going to kick the kickoff out of bounds like John Casey did?
Yeah, that could happen, yes.
Because that's how they won that game.
I know that's how they
I
won
mean,
that
it's
game.
fine, but they won.
That's
Fine, but that's how they won that game.
I couldn't come up with another game comparison. Leave me alone. Mike, take us home.
Well, I'm surprised. I thought I was going to get a little bit more love than my sports box buddies over here. They're talking blowout here in Kansas City. But anyway, I think it's going to be a good game. Bucks are going to have to play some really good defense to slow Kansas City down. I think they can do that. Are they going to slow them down to a crawl? No, I doubt it. But I think it's going to be a very competitive game. I think the Bucks have seen Kansas City and are going to make adjustments. You can't have single coverage against Tyreek Hill. You just got to get guy over the top to help. I'm going to say 35-31 Bucks. And like Alex said, I'm going to say Devin White's the MVP. I think he's been playing monstrous on defense. He's going to need to help them out today. I think he could run one back. He's definitely going to have a fumble or an interception. I was close on Godwin to give it to Godwin today, the MVP, but because I think he scores. He has a big day today too. But listen, the defense has played monstrous. They've helped them out in 2 games to get them here. Why not? Devin White MVP. Bucks win 35-31.
I just find it hard for a defensive player to win MVP if it's 35-31. That's giving up 31 points.
I find it hard for anybody who's not the running. I mean, shouldn't the running back have won it last year?
Oh yeah, without a hands down,
saying, like,
won.
We talk about this, right? Like, to me, like the bet I made last year was I thought the Chiefs would win. I just bet Mahomes to win MVP because I figured if they win, he's MVP, and you got better odds. It was a proxy.
Who it's really going to be, we're all making these predictions, is Gronk. He's going to have 4 catches for 40 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to be like, Gronk's that bad, man. Yep, you're right. He is. He's going to be like, oh, people think Kelsey's the GOAT. Let's show you the GOAT is.
Guys,
I want to see
I hope
craziness.
I
want to see
Yeah.
safeties, missed field goals, 2-point conversions.
Honestly, I
And
want to see a blowout. I want it to be like 28-3 Tampa
I-
Bay at
That'd be
halftime.
awesome.
And I
Oh
just
my
want
God.
to dance on Patrick Mahomes'
Listen,
grave.
If
as
it
the
ends up being
GOAT.
28, if it ends up being 28-3 Bucks, stick your head out the window. You'll hear me in Jersey screaming. Okay? Because I'll be
Guys,
going out of my mind.
Yo,
Guys,
that's
this
what
was
I'm live
awesome.
betting Kansas City. That's what
This
I'm
was
live
awesome. I
betting
had a lot of
Kansas
fun.
City.
To our sports boss guys, Brian Meads and Mike, thank you guys for joining the buzz.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Alex.
Thank
Thanks,
you guys
Daniel.
so much. Daniel and Alex, as always, my co-host, Alex. Guys, this has been a great season for Game Winning Drive. We can't wait to come back next year. We will be at the draft, me and Alex, and we will be talking on the draft on draft night. Can't wait for that. Good luck to both teams today for the sports box and for the Game Winning Drive, and presented by the Buzz. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you guys again.
Let's win
Thank
some
you.
money. Let's win some money, boys.
Go Bucks, baby.